Welcome everyone to tonight's interview with Marty Jencius and Debra Hilra here in Second Life. So Marty and Debra are the organisers of the 2VCC, the second virtual conference on counselling, and have agreed to spend some time talking to us tonight about their experiences in Second Life and their experiences organising the conference. So thank you both for joining me here in Second Life.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Great. Well, maybe I could start with you, Debra, and ask you a little bit about what your background is in terms of Second Life and therapy and those kind of things.
Sure. Well, Second Life, I started playing here in 2006, and it was kind of unknown, and I really didn't do much with it at that time. I would pop in every now and then and mess around and then leave again at a time. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago when I started playing around here seriously and finding out that I could actually build things and create things, which I found just amazing, that you could come into to some place on your computer and basically build your own world. So I started just messing around with in the real world. I'm a doctoral student at Kent State University, and that's where I met Marty, who I also call Dr. Jencius. And together he had brought up this idea of doing this conference in Worlds, and I had said, rightly or wrongly, oh, I can build us a place, and then we sort of started small and grew from there until last year when we had our first conference, which we can talk more about in a moment. But it all just, I think, evolved naturally of our love of technology and how we can be using technology in new and creative ways to facilitate education and training.
Well, that sounds really interesting, Debra. That's kind of been a gradual process for you, that you kind of come into Second Life and got a sense of what it could offer you, and it's grown from there.
Exactly. It was, sort of fits and starts. I'd come in and do things for a while and then jump back out. And it wasn't until I really started working on my counseling degree that some of the possibilities of this environment sort of jumped out through my interactions with Marty and his absolute love and mastery of many technologies, and his passion for wanting to see how far you can sort of push the learning envelope in virtual worlds and in new technologies.
So that, I guess your experience in Second Life then got joined up with Marty. So
yes,
just kind of went from there. Well, maybe Marty, I could come to you and ask you a little bit about your background as well, please.
Sure. I guess I've been practicing counseling since about 1979. I started working as an addictions counselor and got my degree, my master's degree, then sometime around 1985, and was involved in working with severely emotionally handicapped kids and also doing some marriage and family work with families of those severely emotionally handicapped kids. So my practice and work practice in the field was probably about 15 years that I did that in various agencies and such, and decided I wanted to get involved more in the training of counselors and influential in being able to do that kind of training. So I went back for my doctorate degree, and during my doctoral degree I got involved in starting to look at technologies and developed a listserv for our national association. This was back in 1995. I started working and developing a listserv, which took off, and a lot of people had interest in it. We now have about 1,600 members, and it's for counselor educators. With that, I got associated with doing a lot of different kinds of technologies, so then started challenging myself to do things in terms of web pages, podcasts, wikis, and bringing them in on the instructional realm. I work currently as an associate professor at Kent State University and have been here since 2000. Prior to that, I worked at another institution where, with another professor, Dr. Michael Baltimore, who will be presenting at the conference, did an online journal for technology and counseling. So that's sort of been my area of scholarship and interest. When I got to Kent State University, one of the courses that I'm pleased to teach is the teaching of counseling, how to go about doing that with our doctoral students, and that's how I met Debra. Actually, Debra was a master's student in our program and went on for her doctorate. And in there, she said, "Have you ever considered Second Life?" And it reminded me that about 3 years prior, I had tried this thing out, and I got in and I looked at it and I'm like, wait a minute, I have to pay somebody to do this? And it seemed kind of clunky and crazy, and so I avoided it. But Debra, the next week, came in and did a demonstration in class of what the virtual world environment is like. And so we started talking about creating a center just for training our students. And that evolved into maybe doing a conference in World and using it as a way to connect worldwide. And Debra then went on and built and constructed the CESL Center, Counselor Education and Second Life Center. And we had our first conference last year. So she's been a good inspiration in the possibilities, and it's always kind of fun to come up with ideas and then try to figure out which way we can solve that problem.
Yeah, like that's how it's been for you, Marty, from the start, I guess. Thinking about, well, can we do this, and then finding ways to make it happen.
Yeah. And a lot of it is to provoke the system. I mean, I came back into Second Life in, I think, November of 2008. And at that point was pretty much geared into trying to do something. And at about that same time, we were having these national conferences where people would spend thousands of dollars on airfare to fly to a location so we could all go to an expensive hotel and spend all of our times going from small room to small room to hear people give talks. And I thought, this is kind of a waste of the environment, a waste of money. There are a lot more technology savvy ways we could do it.
So I guess you're thinking about ways to almost disrupt the system, I guess, and introduce other concepts for counsellors to meet and learn together.
Yeah, well, that's the fun part for me. I mean, secretly it looks like, or openly it looks like a wonderful academic experiment, but secretly to me it's a way to kind of provoke the system, to get people to think about different ways that learning can occur.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like that, and that was the experience for me last year. It was a real great academic experiment and way to learn, and there is something really, revolutionary in terms of saying, well, do we need to spend this money? Do we need to spend this time?
Yeah.
So I wonder, maybe you could give us an idea there in terms of starting to think about the conference. What are the real benefits and advantages financially for counsellors to engage with learning in this way?
Debra, do you want to start with that?
Sure, let me start with that and then you can jump in. Well, I think that the simplest thing is